Here at Swirleez, and we're just about to start our 5th series in the live speaker and author series here at Swirleez. And I'm so pleased to have James Martin here today of Magic Cup Media and Promotions. He's going to talk about video marketing, and I'll announce our next speaker when it's his turn. All right, so stay tuned.
All right, well, thank you so much, everyone, for coming out, and thank you so much, Teresa, for giving me this platform. So, as you can tell, today it's about videos, and it's specifically about videos for authors and speakers. Now, the main thing I want to cover today is about the types of content that you should be creating in order to boost your author self, your speaker platform, and your books. So today we're going to be covering 3 types of content that some of the most successful authors and speakers are using in order to expand their reach online. Now, before we get into that, there's a really important sort of idea we got to wrap our heads around when it comes to the type of content we create. See, when we get into digital marketing, all the content that you're creating will serve of one of 2 different purposes. One, you're going to be either creating an impression, or you're going to be creating a conversation. So let's talk about the impression for a second. What is an impression? Well, the impression, as we all know, what does someone think and get their sort of gut instinct when they look at us, or read about us, or listen about us, right? As we all know, the impression is so important because it happens just like that. When someone is watching your video, did you know it only takes just 3 to 10 seconds for someone to watch and then decide, you know what, I don't want to watch this, I'm going to click away. So understanding that impression is important. But not only understanding the impression is important, here's the real thing you got to look into. When it comes to creating an impression through your digital marketing, how you create that content is super important. This is where you don't want to look cheap. You don't want to look like you're cutting corners. This is where you really want to invest your time, your energy, and yes, a little bit of money in order to create that really good impression. Because that all matters and you can't take that away. Now, I'm going to get a little practical about impression in a second, but right now I want to talk about the conversation. So what is a conversation? A conversation is sort of like the dialogue between yourself and your potential customer. Now, I'm not just talking about this in a verbal sense or through email or text. This is about you making the first move and you providing value back to your potential customers. Then they consume that content and then they respond back to you. So, where do we go in this conversation? The key thing about a conversation is you need to add value first to the other customer. So unlike the impression where we're trying to hook people into our business and try and get them to look at our products, look at our services, buy our book, book us for speaking, listen to us speaking, it's this conversation where we really want to focus on helping the customer first. And also, unlike the impression, the conversation, this is really about the quality of the value in the content, which actually matters more than the quality of how you create that content in the first place. So as I said, you're adding value back. And when I talk about value, value is either one of 2 things, entertainment or education. Entertainment means you're having fun, maybe you're doing something hilarious, like a joke, or you're doing something motivational, like a motivational quote. Educating is a tip, a guide, a how-to, a tutorial, a review, a walkthrough, something along those lines. That's helping other people back. And what I love so much about the conversation is when you get into that habit of providing value back to other people, this really helps shape your relationship with your customer. See, you can't form a relationship in an impression. That's just hooking people in. But when it comes to conversation, now you're developing that relationship. Because think about it this way. Let's say you post a lot of motivational content. Now you become a motivational figure, a motivational brand. When you're educating someone, what I love so much when you educate other people through your content, you become the expert. Here's the thing. No one will know how much of an expert you are unless you show them how much of an expert you are. See, it doesn't really mean anything, the fact that I've been a videographer for 10 years. But people are now starting to understand how much I really do know because I talk about it all the time. I give tips. I talk about video, social media, speaking, brand, getting over the fear of being in front of the camera, all sorts of different things. And now I become the expert. So let's get a little practical here. So let's look at our digital marketing strategy and figure where do we want to implement an impression, creating that impression, or trying to create that conversation. So does anyone have any ideas where in our digital marketing strategy we want to focus on the impression? Any ideas? Show of hands.
Like what, social media markets, or if you want to make an impression online?
If you want to make any sort of impression,
Yeah.
What kind of digital marketing would we want to implement? So
Video,
video, do you know where video would be important for the impression?
YouTube,
Yeah, we could even do a promo. Promos, commercials, ads, Facebook ads, that's part of creating the impression.
okay.
Because, yeah, we want to hook people in with those types of videos. And funny enough, video can also be great for conversations as well. And we're going to talk about that in just a second. So, yeah, Facebook ad, you don't want to mess that up. Especially when it's going to be put in front of hundreds, thousands of people. You want it to look good in order to hook people in. So you want to invest in someone like Jim Lowe from Assisting You Social in order to create that good ad, or get good graphics from Cheetah Fusion, or good photography from Ian McIntosh, or great promos and commercials from myself, right? Little self-promoting here. Now let's look at, say, the conversation. What kind of digital marketing could we implement in order to create that conversation? So we just mentioned videos. So yeah, doing a series of videos, this is perfect for creating that relationship. Any other ideas where we could implement a conversation?
Facebook Lives.
Yes.
It's just video, but
Yes, but you're right, especially with live, because it's instant, it's in person, right? You could be doing a video that took place months ago, but live, it's right there in people's face. Cheetah Fusion, and I mean, we had Heather a couple weeks ago, Cheetah Fusion is nailing this, because they do a Facebook Live every Wednesday at 3 p.m., and it's called Wonder Wednesday. And they go on Facebook Live, and they just give some tips and advice. And sometimes they bring other guest speakers on. I've been a guest speaker. Jen CB, who came here last week, was also a guest. And now they're developing that relationship, and they develop that conversation. And what I love so much about when you do a series is bring other people on. That's also you adding the conversation, because guess what? You don't have to add to that expertise all the time. You can bring other people and let their expertise come in too, right? So Cheetah Fusion, they don't always provide the content. I've come on and I provide the content, and I'm still adding value. In the summertime, I brought Shane in and we did a little video series. I don't have to provide that content. That all came from Shane, but then I created the platform so that I can still provide that value. All right, so far, do we understand the importance of creating an impression and creating a conversation? Hands up, does that make sense?
Yeah.
Awesome. So, can I get into talking about content now? Sounds good? Awesome. So, as I said, now that we understand how we want to sort of implement impressions in a conversation, let's look at this a little more practically for speakers and authors. So, as I said, there are 3 types of content that I've noticed every successful speaker and author has been implementing into their strategy to grow online. The first one, commercials, ads, trailers, teasers, promos. This is the impression. This is hooking people right into your business and your sales. So how would this look? Every single person that's released a book talked about their book. The author is right there in the video talking about why I wrote the book. What is the book all about? How is this going to help you? What was my inspiration for writing the book? That's fascinating. What else could we do? Well, I really want to say this about speaking in particular because I don't see enough of this happening. See, you're trying to get people to want to come and listen to you again and again and again. So what you should really be investing in is 1, get yourself recorded, and 2, work with a very skilled editor, videographer that can take the best moments of you speaking and put it into a small video. Take the best moments from your speaking gigs and just push that out. You see, let's pretend that you got into TEDx, right? We had a speaker last week, Yvonne, who was actually a TEDx speaker. Now, you could use that to promote your next gig, except that's not where we want to do it. Because creating an impression is not where we want to use a 50-minute video. Because then within 5 seconds, someone's going to click away, just like that. That's not the important part. But maybe you've seen a Tony Robbins promotion. I mean, Tony Robbins talks for days, as we all know. But they take the best moments and they put it into a small video. They take the best moments where maybe they were funny, they got to the point, they were inspirational, and turn that into either a very small video, and they took either that moment, or they made a montage of either that speaking thing or many other speaking gigs into one, where it's focusing on the one. This is where you really want to hook people into the type of speaker that you are. Okay, so the first type of content I mentioned, commercials, promos, ads, trailers, teasers. The second type of content that I just added in, video series, tips, guides, reviews, tutorials. Any of you familiar with the YouTuber Evan Carmichael? Show of hands. Nope? Okay, this is someone who's really fascinating to get to know. So believe it or not, Evan Carmichael is a Toronto-based YouTuber. He's got over 2 million subscribers on YouTube. He's been doing this for a long time, and he has over 4,000 videos posted. Maybe you've seen one of his videos like Tony Robbins' Top 10 Rules for Success or Gary Vaynerchuk's Top 10 Rules for Success. Okay, so very, very cool stuff to watch. He's been publishing 3 books since 2014. Every time he publishes a book, he always talks about his book. So his first book that was published, which was called Your One Word. And just to give you a bit of context, when he says your one word, that's like your why. He has a book that's the top 10 questions about his new book. He has another one, which is his launch video. He does another one where he takes the main passage from his book and he turns that into sort of like a motivational video as a way to promote it. He takes small passages from his book and he talks about them in greater context. So you could be taking your book and talk about it in essentially, greater context. Take elements from your story, talk about them. Teresa, you're working on a new book, Fetch. Right? Have a video on your biography. How did you get into veterinarian in the first place? How did you get into entrepreneurship? Why did you want to write the book? Take small passages from your book and discuss about them. You don't need to talk about the whole book, but just even small parts of it, and just how does that make you feel, and why should other people read the book? Here's something that I also love about video tips. See, I just talked about taking your book and turning it into a video series, but here's something else. You all have something that's very, very unique to share to the world that I promise no one else has. Your experience. No one has your experience. Even if you did the same process, you might have worked with different people. You would have had different positive or negative outcomes. You would have had maybe a different system of going about it. That's something no one else has, and that is something that other people want to get to know, right? Show of hands, have anyone here actually published a book? Self-published works too. Okay. So, and by the way, I say this in the kindest way possible. If you've already published a book, you've done something that most other authors wish they have done, right? And there are people out there, beginner authors, like, again, I'm writing a book right now. I want to know what it's like to actually publish a book. I want to know how you get to that step. And that's something that you know. Same with speaking. You could also talk about the types of topics that you cover in your speaking engagements, in your gigs, right? But you should also talk about how did you become a speaker? What are your tips on becoming a speaker? How did you get to speak at Swirleez Speaker Series? How did you get to speak at GrowVantage? How did you get to speak at TEDx? How did you get paid as a speaker? And that's all unique experience for you. Man, I wish some of you were here last week when we heard Yvonne, I can't remember her last name. Heath. Okay. So Yvonne Heath is a TEDx speaker. One of the coolest questions that we asked her was, how did you become a TEDx speaker? I don't know about you guys. I thought you had to have an agent. I thought they had to reach out to you. I thought you had to have a following. No. She basically just reached out to TEDx. and kept applying again and again and again. And finally, she went to the TEDx in Aurelia. Fascinating. But this is the type of stuff people are literally dying for. They want to know that experience. And again, you may not think that you're necessarily an expert on maybe publishing a book or speaking or something, but you know what? That doesn't matter, because you know what? You may not think of yourself as an expert. Sorry, tripping. Everyone else will. Why? Because you talk about it. And when you talk about it, you become the expert. All right, so already I just covered 2 of the 3 types of content that every successful speaker and author is using. Can anyone remember what number 1 was?
Make an impression.
Yep, promos, commercials, ads, trailers, teasers, exactly. Can anyone remember what number 2 was?
Almost like teaching, putting video information out there.
Yep, video information, yep, a video series.
Yeah.
Exactly, you're on the right track. So, number 3. This is what I call more long-form content. This is podcasts and recording yourself speaking. I don't see enough people recording themselves when they're speaking. So, podcasting.
Video as well as audio?
Both.
Both.
Especially audio when it comes to the podcasting. Podcast is huge. Humongous. I'm surprised how big podcasting is, because what I love about podcasting is this is the ultimate form of a conversation, because you're listening to someone for half an hour, maybe you want to be crazy like Joe Rogan and do 3-hour segments, fine. But this is like the ultimate form of developing a relationship with someone, because you're listening to them, you're listening to their personality, how they speak, their energy, their sense of humor, the stuff that they know for a long period of time. Speaking. Record yourself speaking. Now, why do I say this? Well, check this out. This is content you don't have to really focus on. It's already done for you. That's one of the reasons why I'm recording myself speaking right now. And when Shane starts speaking, he asked me to record him too. Because you know what? I don't know about you, Shane, but I'm going to take this and I'm going to publish it on Facebook and LinkedIn, maybe YouTube, probably Instagram. That becomes content that I can use, as well as my demos, maybe a commercial, and other sorts of things. But think about it, this is content you don't have to really think about. And especially when you're trying to develop yourself as a speaker, people need to listen to you speak. They need to know what you're like as a speaker. So then when you are speaking again, whether it's for free or paid, then people will want to listen to you and watch you. That's why I also highly recommend podcasting too. Again, people are going to listen to you. People are going to absorb the information. And I just want to give you a little bit of context just before we end on podcasting. It took me 18 months where I posted a video on YouTube every single week to grow from 23 subscribers to over 100 now. But it took me 18 months where I posted a new video every single week. Podcasting, I once ran a podcast show called The I Can Show. This ran from October till June this year, so 8 months. I posted 22 episodes. I got about 850 downloads. That's pretty good. Really, really good. And that's what all of you guys can be doing right now. Before I finish off, there's one final tidbit I want you to take away, and this is important when it comes to the conversation. We're living in an age where the consumption for value and the consumption for content, huge. Especially when we go into 2020, it's only going to get bigger. The amount of content that is literally being consumed every single day, every single week. And listen, I know in marketing we always talk about, standing out from your competition. Really, it's not even just enough to stand out. It's about being remembered, right? Because you know what? You know what's funny? I know tons of different people in tons of different industries, but I'm only going to remember the ones that stick out to me, right? Let's take web designers, for instance. I know Shane, I know Cheetah Fusion. I had someone else do my website years ago. I was at a BA5. I'm so sorry about this, Shane, but I was at a BA5. I saw Heather Wilson, and then someone else was like, hey, you know what? I need a website. And I went, Cheetah. And it wasn't that I don't want to help Shane, because of course I want to recommend Shane and I want to help Cheetah Fusion, but it's because I saw Heather that just, Heather. So the content consumption is huge. You really need to be posting online, if not weekly, daily. Literally that much. Because you know what? If you're not, someone else is. And they're the one that's going to be dominating. That's why when we talk about the impression versus the conversation, I say, impression, yes, invest in the impression. Hire a professional videographer to come in and create a good promo for you so you stand out and it makes you look good. When it comes to the conversation, this is where I say, listen, just get started. Just post stuff. Just keep writing blogs. Keep posting videos. It doesn't matter if it's on your phone, because you know what? The quality of the execution doesn't matter as much as the quality of the value. That's where it comes in. And I would much rather see you guys posting weekly or daily, right, than missing out on that. Because you know what? That following will grow, that ROI will come back, and then eventually, yes, you'll want to sort of scale up from there, make the quality better and better and better. But the important thing is you need to start. Just take this in mind when you go into 2020. There's so much opportunities for you to succeed. And by the way, if you have any questions, if you want to talk to me about how to do video work for you, how to help you with coaching sessions, I'm always more than happy to do that. And on that note, I want to say thank you for listening. Other platforms that's good for posting videos. So, I mean, I always say YouTube, of course, because there's 2 billion people on YouTube. Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, all the social platforms are really consuming video. You can also look into the video site that just escapes me. But essentially,
Vimeo?
Vimeo. Thank you. Thanks.
Well,
Zoom's not necessarily a platform. Yeah, but here's the special thing about Vimeo. So Vimeo doesn't have as much of an audience, but because of that, it's got a better brand for itself. It's almost like the LinkedIn of YouTube in a way, because Vimeo's audience is smaller, but it's more focused on corporate and filmmaking, like higher end filmmaking. So let's say you were to have a promotional video, like a welcome video on your website, and by the way, please schedule this into your budget for 2020. It's so important. Put that on Vimeo and then post that video to your website. Don't put it on YouTube and then put it on your website. So Vimeo, that's good for the impression. YouTube for the conversation. Very hard. Because I mean, with a video, you can listen and watch someone at the same time. Right? Because the thing is, people will consume content in one of 3 different ways: by reading, by watching, or by listening. So yes, video is very, very dominant. We're in a very squirrely, distracted world. So you need to see someone and be engaged with them. But podcasting, like an audio podcast, still super important, because there's other ways people consume that as well. This is a very interesting question, because I get asked this all the time. How long should your videos be? Really, the duration doesn't matter as much as the retention. So you need to be straight to the point as possible. So there's a lot of videos out there, and I mean, look at wedding videos, for instance. And I'm not here to rip on wedding videographers, but those are examples where they're long, and you fall asleep within the first 10 or 20 seconds. That's why.
Unless you're the bride or the groom.
Unless you're
the bride or the groom.
That'd be bad.
So, but you can have the best 30-second video that's straight to the point and just grabs your attention from start to finish. And there are also videos that are 5 minutes or 10 minutes long that also grab you from start to finish. So duration doesn't matter as much. It's just making sure you are to the point. Huge. Very huge. One of the things that's very interesting about vlogs is that they are like a journey or an adventure. It's like telling a story. So it's almost like a documentary on something that you're doing in your life. So let's say you're traveling, right? Like, let's say you're doing like a corporate job somewhere, like going to Phoenix. You can document the entire experience of going to Phoenix, and yeah, vlogs are huge, because you know what? I don't know what it's like going to Phoenix. I don't know what it's like meeting Jeff Walker. Because it's not chopped up.
Which is it?
A Facebook Live is not chopped up.
Okay, but your vlog could be.
Yep.
Okay.
Because vlogs, they're entertaining. It's part of that value entertainment factor. They're fun to watch. As opposed to a Facebook Live, you're watching every single step of the way. As opposed to, in a vlog, it's you're entering the car, you arrive at Swirleez, you start speaking. Huge. Shane, how fast would you say it is for someone to come to your homepage and then click away?
Seconds.
Seconds. Seconds. So when someone comes to your website, the first thing they need is the information about who and what you are. Not confusion, not going through your website pages trying to find the information. They want to see what they want now. And why I always recommend with like a welcome video, like an introduction video on your website, is the first thing they're seeing is a video to click on, because we all like clicking on things, and then it's you. And I always say it's got to be you speaking if you're the owner of your business. Because if you're the owner of your business, guess what? You're the brand. You automatically took over that role. So people are getting to know you. They're already developing that relationship right from the get-go. You're telling them straight away, here's who I am, here's what I do, here are my core values, this is how I help my customers, yada, 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 within a 2 or 3 minute time frame usually. And automatically, the customer is getting to know what they need to know about you. And why should they even care? Then they convert into your customers. Talked about duration, and I said that the retention is more important than duration. The duration discussion goes a little bit deeper. In that case, yes, watching a 40-minute video is very, very difficult because not everyone has that time.
I'm not training. I wasn't training, so I didn't want to watch that. I wanted information.
Exactly. Exactly. So you might want to think about for your book, you might want to have a video that's maybe around the 1, 2, 3 minute mark. That's just getting the important information out there. And then create another video that maybe this is 10 minutes long and you're going into a deeper discussion. So even if you have a product or a service, you can have a small video that's just introducing what that is and have like a review or a guide or a how-to that's going a little bit deeper into what is it that you do. If I were you, what I would do is do a promotional video. So just to quickly give everyone like that basic idea of why they should join, this is what the course is about, and then create a series of video content that's going into the subject of what you're talking about. Because what you can also do is in that video series, you can also take the link to your course or the link to a book or something you want people to buy and put it in those videos. So when they're at the point when they've got enough information that you know what, I'm sold, I like Teresa, I want to check out this course, then they can go straight into buying.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
Awesome. Any other questions? Cool.
Great job.
Well, thank you everyone for listening.
Woo!